Big brother, I'm afraid of sister nurse, I'm afraid of injections. In the park, the little girl holding the colorful balloons shook her head, her horn braids swung back and forth. But, your real dream is to become a nurse. Wenju squatted down after putting more than a dozen simple leaflets on the edge of the flower bed. As far as he could see, behind the little girl appeared a translucent image of a young girl, wearing a standard nurse uniform, and her eyebrows were 7080% similar to the girl's. This is an image that only Wenju can see, called Substitute Messenger. Kidding. Blessed by the of beautiful dreams, Wenju can see the embodiment of the pure ideals of others, which is called the image of beautiful dreams. The little girl playing in the park in front of her has the image of a nurse in her dream, which shows that no matter how afraid of injections she is, the clearest ideal is to become a nurse. The child's thoughts are relatively pure. With a little mention, she can meet her dream image, recognize herself more, and strengthen the direction of life. Wenju followed suit. Think about it, what would you get if you became a nurse? The clear pupils blinked, and after a brief hesitation, the little girl's expression changed from confusion to excitement. I see. If I have to be brave and become a nurse sister, I can stab those boys who bully me with needles. What? Wenju hasn't recovered from the outrageous Wuji Tong Yan, but the little girl in front of her has a feeling and slowly turns her head back. The white mist was surging, and the beautiful nurse sister, whose eyebrows were 7 or 8 similar to hers, leaned down and kissed the little girl's forehead, murmured to convey her intentions, nurses exist to protect life, not to hurt children with needles. In a trance, the image of the sweet dream dissipated after hugging the little girl. It was really like a dream. Big brother. I know, I want to be a gentle nurse and protect life, a woman's voice called in the distance, and the mother called her daughter to go home. Big brother, I'll go first, your dream detective agency will definitely be very famous. It's the dream office. The little girl had already run away. Wenju helplessly got up with a smile. The flyer in his hand had a clear title, Beautiful Dream Office, let you meet your dreams. With a thought, a simple game interface appeared in Wenju's mind, and a text prompt box popped up, Sweet Dream Points, +3. Soul-piercing another world. Wenju's uniqueness is the ability to be blessed by the god of dreams, and a strange Pokemon game. In my mind, the main interface of the game is an extremely simple amusement park. There is only one Ferris wheel. You can see Xianggui Meow and little sea lions lining up to ride. There are pictures here, and the pictures of Pokemon and game props will be posted in this chapter as much as possible. Confirm the dream points, temporarily close the game interface, and return to reality. Wenju, who has no job and little savings, has to solve the problem of livelihood first. Using the power bestowed by the god of beautiful dreams can make people recognize their own beautiful dream image, which is equivalent to an enhanced version of psychotherapy. Under the premise that the original owner of the body did not leave much memory in a strange world, the only trump card in Wenju's hand was this blessing. In my previous life, I was able to counterattack from a small village to a first-tier city, and I can still do it in another world. He was handsome for only 3 seconds, and Top Gun's words were only halfway through. The cold wind in the deep winter blew Wenju's eyes. There were more than 10 flyers in his hand, and some of them flew out, sticking to the face of a middle-aged man who passed by on an electric bike. Wenju finally opened his eyes in the cold wind, and saw the little electric donkey that rolled over. Snap! The movement was not as big as I imagined. The middle-aged man was skilled in driving and braked steadily, but he fell to the side of the road and fell. The side of the battery car is a little damaged. Fortunately, everyone is fine. Sorry, my flyer was blown away by the strong wind just now. Hey, it hurts. The middle-aged man shook his hands, only his arms were sore and numb, the rest was fine, but he was still very angry. Stinky boy! What are you doing? Holding up the battery car, Wenju quickly apologized, I'm sorry, the wind blew the flyer away. Damn, Lose money for me. Accompany me with the battery car. The battery car isn't broken. The other party has a tendency to be quite unreasonable. Wenju is very calm, and while apologizing, he can't let anyone gain an inch. The wind blowing the flyer smeared your face. It was purely an accident. Where are you injured? The middle-aged man was stunned. It's all right, it's just that his hands are a little numb. After getting the exact answer, Wenju breathed a sigh of relief. If he really wanted to pay for the entire battery car, he might run out of food after paying the rent. I'll go back with you. The other party couldn't ride a bike like this, so Wenju simply pushed up the electric donkey. Reach out and don't hit the smiling person. Besides, the proportion of accidents is indeed relatively large, and the middle-aged people are suppressing their anger. I'm unlucky. I live nearby. I'm the owner of a small supermarket across the street. My surname is Zhang. Boss Zhang's face was gloomy and he sighed deeply. Push the car for repair first. Observing silently, Wenju felt more and more that something was wrong. Boss Zhang was very worried, unlike a simple accidental fall that caused rage. 80% have other concerns. Hand over the injured electric donkey to the repair shop. The master said that if there is a small problem, it can be repaired in 1 or 200, and you can come and pick it up later. When things came to an end, Wenju tentatively opened the topic. Boss Zhang, do you have any other unhappiness in your heart? What? Do you understand psychotherapy? He really couldn't explain his superpowers to the other party, so Wenju waved the few flyers left. I'm from the Dream Office. I can help you see your ideal self. It's a kind of psychotherapy. Boss Zhang did not trust the abilities of the young man in front of him. The psychiatrist in his mind had to be a person in strict uniform who had the style of a lawyer and a doctor. Reading www.yuyugonshu.com. At least not a young brother in old clothes. Boss Zhang, please believe me. Wenju's request was not only based on the guilt of breaking other people's Eden keys, but also some selfishness. The owner of the small supermarket is a well-connected position in the acquaintance society. If you have a good relationship with him, the Dream Office will have another powerful publicity channel. Come and sit in my shop. Boss Zhang walked in front, and Wenju followed behind. At this time, no white shadow appeared. Usually, it is necessary for the other party to personally entrust him to see the image of the dream for a long time. As an exception, children's minds are very clear, and occasionally they can directly see the image of a beautiful dream without entrustment, such as the little girl from earlier. On the second floor of the small supermarket in the old block, Boss Zhang entered the office. His aura suddenly changed, and he was a little irritable. I'm not afraid to tell you, my ideal is to become a rich man and let my family live a rich life. My son must also look forward to it. Boss Zhang threw the bill on the table, but the business cannot be expanded. Instead, because of the newly opened commercial plaza in Changle City, there are fewer customers. What can you do? Listening to this tone, it is like kicking the business decision to the other party. Wenju knew very well in his heart that he was here to solve psychological problems, not to go to the horns with him. Boss Zhang, out of professional needs, I have to go through a process. Coughing and clearing his throat, Wenju put on a pose. Let me show you the self in your beautiful dream. Boss Zhang looked suspicious and nodded subconsciously. The dream commission was fulfilled, and a faint white shadow condensed and formed behind him. That armor, that cloak, his dream is. Masked Superman? I said it all, my dream is to be rich. You show me my dream self. Boss Zhang thumped his desk irritably. Isn't the firm you mentioned that people can see the image of themselves in their dreams? What about business ability? You calm down first. Wenju opposite the desk had a gloomy expression on his face. First, he stabilized the customer's mentality that was about to explode. Open the game interface, the slightly pixel-style backpack bar is bleakly empty, and there is only one game item, Crescent Feather. Based on the blessing of the god of beautiful dreams, Wenju can see other people's ideals of himself, or the image of himself in dreams. Boss Zhang, who is in his 40s, keeps saying that in his dreams, he is a rich man. However, in Wenju's field of vision, the translucent image of the dream beside the other party is Masked Superman. A tough mask with a strong sense of justice, a full set of compact combat uniforms with shoulder pads, knee pads, leggings and boots and other parts, and a cloak floating behind. A very distinctive masked Superman type hero image, a hero character that children and even adults like. That is to say, no matter how much Boss Zhang emphasizes that he wants to get rich. Until the age of 40, the purest dream in his heart is to become a masked Superman. Or, use the crescent feather. This thing is an important item in the normal version of Pokemon, it will not be consumed, and its role is to dispel nightmares. In the current version, the number 3 is indicated behind the feather of the crescent moon, which is a consumable item. The function is to refine the ability of the image of the beautiful dream that Wenju saw. Having never used it before, Wenju guessed that the so-called refinement should mean seeing the essence through phenomena. For example, the image of masked Superman, who uses the feathers of the crescent moon to see his true face, is actually a rich man who likes to play justice hero games in private? The guess is a bit outrageous. There is no way. First, you have to win the first customer who has value in making friends, otherwise the business will not be able to do in the future. Click on the game interface with your mind, and the player confirms the use of crescent feather, and the number of corresponding items in the backpack column is reduced. Quickly turning his attention back, Wenju stared at the masked Superman behind the guest. Feeling the unusual serious gaze, the uncle stopped complaining and looked puzzled. Wenju locked onto the translucent image of masked Superman, and under the influence of crescent feather, he masked Superman. He made a transformation? Like the sound of King, the armor on Kamen Rider is even more gorgeous. Second stage transformation? Wenju opened his mouth wide, it was like the hero character in the animation was suppressed by the villain, there were children nearby cheering, and then masked Superman took out the second stage form and beat the enemy violently. Mr. Wen. The originally irritable middle-aged man was frightened by Wenju's rich expression changes. As a normal person, I found that Wenju first looked behind the other party with deep and serious eyes, but the other party turned around and found that it was empty, and then saw that Wenju had another startled expression. It's really scary, it sounds like some kind of weird talk about yin and yang eyes. The situation froze. Wenju didn't know how to explain it. He consumed the new moon feather to improve the ability to read the image of the dream, but the result was still masked Superman. It means that in the purest dream of the other party, he should become a hero of justice. Boss Zhang. The other party is the owner of a small supermarket. His surname is Zhang. The place where Wenju is actually the living area on the top floor of their warehouse behind the supermarket. Ahem, I confirmed your image of a beautiful dream, it's... What is it? Masquerade. Wenju's muscles were tense, for fear of being beaten. No way, the god of dreams said that in order to see the ideal self, people must recognize and realize their pure dreams. So I can only tell Boss Zhang the truth. Ha 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 ha. Boss Zhang looked up at the sky and smiled. Just when Wenju thought he had fully understood, a very realistic answer popped out from the other side. I trust you, Gui. Wenju held his forehead, there was no way, he tried his best. Forget it, it's my bad luck, it's my own bad luck, so I get angry everywhere. The business of the small supermarket has not been able to expand for many years, and Boss Zhang is in a bad mood. In addition, the little electric donkey rolled over today, and he has no energy to make trouble with the inexplicable young man in front of him. Hey, I shouldn't have the same knowledge as Xiao Yang. Wenju knew that he was wrong. Boss Zhang, why don't you do this? As compensation, I'll go with you to push the electric car back. The electric car has been sent for repair. The repair shop is not far from the small supermarket. Boss Zhang's hand is still numb, and it is difficult to hold the handlebar. Okay, I don't ask you to lose money, but young man. Walking out of the supermarket, Boss Zhang warned earnestly, young people should be down to earth and start a dream agency. Can you see the image of yourself in other people's dreams? Wenju's suffering can't be said, but we can really see it. The streets are a lot more lively than before. At 1700 hours in the afternoon, the nearby primary school closes. Boss Zhang was still muttering, young people are really tough. Let me tell you directly, my dream is to be rich. You also replied that masquerade, you can't cheat if you lie. Boss Zhang, I really didn't lie to you. Wenju reconfirmed that the translucent masked Superman beside Boss Zhang was in a position of emitting light waves. Hat. Boss Zhang shook his head, my child is in the 3rd grade of elementary school nearby, and he will believe what you say. Hey! Wenju gave up explaining. If you can't face the pure dream in your heart honestly, you won't be able to see the image of your own beautiful dream. Boss Zhang, it's get out of class time now, or I'll accompany you for a longer walk to pick up the child. No, last year he went to school and dismissed himself in the 2nd grade. I'm busy making money. How can I make my children happy if I don't become a rich man? Boss Zhang's words were a little heavy. Wenju was not good at evaluating other people's affairs, so he had to silently launch an electric car in a car repair shop. Dad! The refreshing cry of the child came. Yu reading www.yuuganshu.com. In the direction of the source of the sound, the little boy with a school bag rushed over with surprise on his face. Dad, are you here to pick me up today? The little boy was lying on his father's lap, his head was close to his thigh, and he looked up and giggled. Boss Zhang subconsciously wanted to answer the truth, but Wenju coughed quickly, prompting him to change his words. Oh. I happen to be free today, so I came to pick you up. Picking up his son lovingly, Boss Zhang kissed the little boy's tender face, let's go home. Well. The boy turned around, where's big brother? He is Dad's good friend. The father walked in front of him with his son in his arms, and Wenju silently pushed the car. He only felt that the little boy was very simple and had no concept of money, but was more attached to his father. Passing by the anime house on the corner, the floor-to-ceiling window displays the figures and models, the little boy looks at the masked Superman, his eyes are straight. Boss Zhang felt guilty and asked with a smile, son, do you want Dad to buy you a masked Superman? The child's clear eyes stayed on the window, then quickly turned around and hugged his father's neck. Do not want. Why not? Dad is my masked Superman. At that moment, Boss Zhang's body froze, and Wenju also stopped a meter away. 3 seconds later, Boss Zhang, who had tears in his eyes, felt a call in his heart and turned his head. The translucent masked Superman figure made a victory gesture, flicked his cape, and flew to the clear sky. Just like Boss Zhang when he was a child, even though he only had a towel behind him, he felt that he was in the sky and could do anything. A text prompt pops up on the game interface, Dream Points plus 13. Wenju closed the text prompt box, and the game interface displayed the most basic appearance. In the center of the scene is a version pixel-style amusement park and its humble amusement park. The only Ferris wheel looks very old. Apart from that, there are no other amusement facilities, and a few wild elves are playing around and having fun. Mr. Wen. Boss Zhang's voice came from the front, and Wenju drew his attention away from the game interface. It's my clumsy eyes, but you have real skills. Even when I'm 40, I'll watch some hero-themed anime in the dead of night, hoping that I'll be the righteous character in it. Boss Zhang looked ashamed, not knowing whether he was annoyed by misunderstanding Wenju, or he was embarrassed by admitting a somewhat naive ideal on the side of the road. That's good. Wenju held the battery car. My flyer disturbed Boss Zhang, and letting you see the image of a beautiful dream is compensation. The childish voice sounded, Dad, what is the image of a beautiful dream? It's my father's dream. What is Dad's dream? Become masked Superman. Ha ha ha. The little boy was amused and hugged his father's neck tightly, then father has already succeeded. After sending Boss Zhang and the children to the supermarket, Wenju parked the electric car beside the warehouse and turned to say goodbye. Nice. Outside the street, Wenju clenched his fist. It works. With the ability given by special games, you have to find a way to exert it. The so-called dream firm is exactly like this. It really wants to expand the business that makes people see pure ideals and make a lot of money. Come on, let's go home first. Standing on the street and playing games is not a good habit. Wenju knew the direction and walked towards the courtyard. At the end of the bifurcated path, a small building with a yard stood with atrial fibrillation, and the mottled walls were like ragged clothes with patches in the cold January wind. Zhang Lang is the only one in the courtyard. I don't know who came up with this lousy name. Going up to the third floor, Wenju entered and returned to the rental house. Very ordinary single apartment, no living room, but fortunately it has a kitchenette and a separate bathroom. The image in the mirror is somewhat unfamiliar, after all, it has only been 3 days since he passed through. Unscrew the shower head, and the water washes the body. Today is the first step to take the dream office. My predecessors had a pretty good life. He was admitted to a famous university from a small village, and then Wenju died unfortunately in order to rescue the passengers on the drowning bus. During the time when the soul was floating, I saw Cresselia, the of beautiful dreams. Wenju's understanding at that time was that the so-called good people have good rewards, get the favor of the of beautiful dreams, and travel to the current world. Then he traveled to a heart disease patient who was extremely depressed and died of depression. The most exaggerated thing is that he hardly gained much memory, and even because the original owner stayed at home for a long time, he did not leave much common sense in the world. For the current Wenju, the entire Chang'an city is like a completely unopened map. The memory ended with the end of the shower, and Wenju opened the game interface. The content that can be developed in the game is the trump card of wandering in another world, and looking at the elves that come and go every day, it does not seem so lonely. Speaking of which, this game should be a branch mini-game of Pokémon. Can't you collect elves to fight? I have been researching Dreamland for 3 days, and it sounds like a very short time, but the land in the game is large, and the area of a single screen is surrounded by trees, and there is an alley that can't be walked out, that's all. I haven't seen any clues related to the battle, but there are often elves coming into play. At this moment, in front of the ticket counter, there were small pink ears swaying, one cat raised its body towards the tail, and its small claws were pressed against the edge of the table. Mum. Okay, I know. The player activates the lift rod, enters the sweet dream paradise, and goes straight to the only Ferris wheel. It was a wild elf just now, and the wild Xiang Gui Miao had no money and couldn't buy a ticket. The rules of the park are written on the ticket booth where the player is located, and the first one clearly reads, wild Pokémon can enter the park for free, and no compulsory charges are allowed. It's like a paradise built by someone for wild elves. In the distance, the mountain rat hesitantly paced, not too daring to come over. Come in. Wenju can convey what he wants to express into the game interface through his thoughts. The lift rod was raised, and the mountain mouse ran with its round body, bowed slightly as it passed the ticket office, and went to the edge of the Ferris wheel. The humble Dreamland has only one entertainment item, and it is not bad to make wild elves happy. In front of the ticket counter in Sweet Dreamland, Mary Lou was jumping up and down. The water mouse, Mary Lou, is only 0.4 meters tall and cannot reach the table. Are you going in too? Well, but it doesn't matter if you don't have money, Come in and play. The player communicates with the elves through ideas, and the ideas are conveyed to the elves in Dreamland, and their responses are also sent back to Wenju's mind. Opening the lift pole, Mary Lou moved her steps obediently into the paradise of dreams. When Wenju hasn't looked at the game interface, the director played by the player in Dreamland will be in an automatic mode similar to custody. When he sees wild elves coming to play, he will be released automatically. There is only one director in the entire Sweet Dream Paradise, the Bear Commander Wenju. It's no problem to make wild elf free to play, the problem is money. Click on the menu program. The two options are the information of the player Wenju and the backpack interface. Also displays the current game gold coins. Bok Yuan, 831 negative numbers, UU reading www.uuganshu. The 831 game gold coins that com has deducted. Dreamland needs daily expenses that may be water and electricity and other expenses. Because it does not accept money from wild elves, it cannot make any profit and can only owe it. Wenju didn't know what would happen to the debt until the end. 9999? Meow. There was Meow Meow standing at the front door and wanted to come in and play. Come on, you don't need a ticket, it's okay. Not bad for money. I don't know where to find out 20 game gold coins and put them on the ticket counter. This is the first time Wenju has received money in the game. It's really worthy of being a meow. In the game, the Meow Meow family can naturally comprehend the skill, treasure gathering. Every time you use the treasure gathering skill to attack, you will get 5 times the user's level of game gold. No wonder Wild Meow Meow can afford tickets. In addition to the 20 game gold coins given by Meow Meow, the player's current game gold coins are still negative, 811. I don't know who the former director was. He left me a paradise where I owe water and electricity bills. Close the game interface. The characters in the game will not starve to death, but Wenju in reality will starve to death. You have to find a way to do odd jobs first to maintain a living, and then use the power of the beautiful dream to make a lot of money. With a thought, the feather of the new moon appeared in Wenju's hand. There are 2 of these things left. If you run out, you can use dream points to pray to the statue of the god of dreams in the lounge, and 50 dream points can be exchanged for a new moon feather, 100 dream points can be used for a lottery, the specific prize is unknown. Completed Boss Zhang's mission to get 13 dream points, wasted a crescent feather, and didn't earn half a cent. Hopefully this is the first step in getting benefits in the future. Breaking the wall and falling ashes. Just after taking a shower, Wenju, who opened the window to breathe, noticed that the walls were dusty. Sooner or later, you should put a thick wallpaper on the wall and change to a clean carpet. Before that, you have to live. When he went out today, Wenju Yang checked the balance of the original owner's bank card account. 1000B is just right. Another world's currency unit B. Wenju didn't know how much B would be needed for a month's rent, water, and electricity, but it seemed to hang. The parents of the original owner of this body are extremely handsome lovers. I left enough money for my son in high school to reach adulthood, and then pursued his hobby to study ancient fossils in unknown corners of the world. Therefore, Wenju, who is currently 18 years old, can't take money from others for nothing, and earns it all by himself. Go out and buy something and come back to cook. No matter how you can't pay the rent, you can't just starve to death. Just as he was about to go out, the phone on the table vibrated slightly, and the ringtone remembered. The caller displayed on the screen is the newly added Boss Zhang. Mr. Wen. Boss Zhang can just call me by my name. It's awkward for an acquaintance to call me that. Okay, Wenju, I found a business for you. Wenju suddenly regained his spirits. The opportunity to get to know Boss Zhang was that the flyers of the dream office were blown up by the wind and stuck on his face. Therefore, the business mentioned by Boss Zhang can only be the entrustment of the image of the dream. Where? I'll go right there. Wenju didn't know if he had the ability to do it, but now he doesn't have the conditions to choose work, so he has to work hard to do whatever comes. When he closed the window and went out, Zhang Lang only used the third floor of the courtyard. A large area and the passage to the roof were lived by the landlady, a single middle-aged woman. At this time, her expression was very strange. It was rare for Wenju to go out so frequently. Regardless of what others think, it is important to obtain a source of life. Wenju hurriedly left the alley and reappeared outside Boss Zhang's villa 10 minutes later. The previous farewell was during the rush hour. At this time, it was just meal time, and the smell of cooked food wafted from the restaurants and stalls in the nearby streets. The Adam's apple rolled. Wenju suppressed his emotions, and greeted Boss Zhang in the distance. "Boss Zhang, I'm here." "Haha, just in time, let's come in and have something to eat together." Wenju was refreshed. No matter whether the entrustment was successful or not, first earn a meal. "Wenju, come and sit, you're welcome." Boss Zhang greeted the guests to take their seats. In the living room of the house adjacent to the warehouse, a sturdy bearded man sat beside the round dining table. The weather in Changle City in January is wet and cold. Because of the heavy humidity, the normal 10 degrees at night makes people feel below 5 degrees. The bearded man in front of him is only wearing a simple coarse cloth shirt, his sleeves are rolled up, and his unusually thick arms are covered with thick hair. This is the leader of the cooked food section of our supermarket, Wang Biao, Chef Wang. Boss Zhang's supermarket has breakfast service, and cooked food is also available for dinner. The materials and resources for cooked food are prepared by Chef Wang. "Hey, what nonsense," Lao Zhang said, "I'm just a rude person." Wang Biao waved his hand. "Really, our brothers are drinking. You asked a little baby to come over, so I didn't dare to let go." "Oh, when will your Chef Wang be embarrassed?" Boss Zhang introduced. "Wenju, sit down first." Oh. Wenju's face is grim, and the challenges he is currently facing are too strong. "I was so hungry that I felt cramps, so on the table of the boss were the sauced beef and spare ribs served with wine, as well as the staple meat buns and fried buns. The scent is tangy. The trouble is that we have to talk about business next." Wenju can't stare at other people's dining table like a hungry wolf, so he can only sit upright. Fortunately, Boss Zhang talked about business in the spirit of drinking and chatting. "Wenju, you're welcome, let's eat something first, we'll talk while we eat." After being recognized, Wenju forcibly controlled the urge to rush to the dining table, and Sven took a bite of the meat bun. "Hey! The skin is thin, the filling is large, and the seasoning is delicious." Wenju can be sure that it's not because he is so hungry that everything is delicious, but because the level of meat buns is really high. "Come on, let's try frying again." Boss Zhang and Chef Wang eat casually, and Wenju is also able to let go and eat. "How? This is the best meal I have ever eaten in this world." The food was so refreshing, and the mouth was quick for a while, but Wenju realized that the content of what he said was a bit wrong. Boss Zhang was stunned. Chef Wang almost knocked over the wine glass. The young man in front of him was too heartbroken to speak. Seeing his happy face, it seemed that he was telling the truth. Wenju did not exaggerate. He traveled to the current world for 3 days and had so much money in his account. For students from small villages, 1000B can barely be used for 2 months at the university. That is because the school has a canteen and does not have to pay monthly rent. Now faced with a strange world and difficult conditions, Wenju only dared to buy some cheap vegetables and discounted meat during his 3-a-day journey. Cough, it's really delicious. Then eat more. Boss Zhang pointed the wine glass at Wang Biao, it's Chef Wang's craftsmanship. It is always fun to be praised by others, especially Wenju's simple and frank performance, which made Wang Biao a little embarrassed. "Eat whatever you want, it's not a good thing." After several courtesies, Wenju was 3 to 4% full, and Boss Zhang happened to mention serious business. Wenju, I came to you today. I want to talk about Chef Wang's heart disease. What kind of heart disease? Don't say it so seriously. Wang Biao waved his hand and felt strange again. How can such a young child understand psychological counseling? No, he should know how to look at each other. Boss Zhang patted his chest. I was unhappy a while ago, but in fact, I couldn't get along with myself. It all depends on little brother Wenju's words. Wenju, who was eating buns, almost choked. After working on it for a long time, Boss Zhang understood the business of the dream office as a fortune teller. You can make Wenju depressed. If it is promoted as a psychiatrist or therapist, it sounds so heartwarming. The problem is that at that time, Wenju didn't talk much like a psychological counselor, but directly broke Boss Zhang's heart and talked about the image of a beautiful dream. Really like a stick. Brother Wenjiu, right? How does your fortune-telling office charge? Wang Biao has a flyer in his hand, a cheaply produced flyer for the dream office, which is the one that was stuck on Boss Zhang's face this morning. Toll. Wenju suddenly got into trouble. The reason why I think that the service of meeting a beautiful dream is like a fortune-telling, because the two are equally mysterious and difficult to price. If you ask about marriage on the side of the road, you might get 30 to 50 bucks, help a big family to see the face of a child, and say some auspicious words, you might get tens of thousands of bucks. That's it. Wenju swallowed the sauced beef in his mouth. I'll give you a try first. If you can't do it, you won't be charged. If you can, give me 300B. 300B, don't do business at a loss. Wang Biao has inquired that psychological counselors calculate money according to time. It is cheaper to go to thousands of B a few times more, and fortune-telling is even more expensive. We are acquaintances, so outsiders will take it high. Facing the first customer and neighbor who could ask for a price, Wenju had no confidence in his business level and did not dare to make random bids. Chef Wang, tell me what's on your mind. Now the commission has not been fulfilled. Unless Wang Biao's dream is extremely pure and strong, Wenju will not be able to see the image of the dream. I don't really have anything on my mind. Wang Biao took a sip of the suffocating wine. It's all about Lao Zhang and the others. Hey, we've been together for 5 or 6 years, and the old guys in the supermarket. We're together every day, so why can't we see that you have something on your mind? Boss Zhang was in a good mood this morning because of Wenju's guidance, and his meals were delicious. He also hoped that old friends would untie their knots. Zing zing zing, little brother, I can't tell what's wrong with me. It's just that my heart is stuffy and I'm inexplicably nervous. The hospital examination is normal. Listening to this description, Wenju always felt like the pre-exam syndrome of candidates for the college entrance examination, postgraduate entrance examination, and secretary examination. No matter what, the entrustment conditions were fulfilled, and the ability bestowed by the God of Dreams was triggered. In Wenju's field of vision, a faint white shadow appeared behind Chef Wang, which gradually condensed into reality. It was an old-fashioned white porcelain bowl, an ordinary white porcelain spoon, in which round spherical objects were soaked in a little soup. Sweet dumpling? Wang Biao's ideal is to become a dumpling? Wenju almost didn't sit still. No. Shake your head to calm down. Although he only tried the ability bestowed by the God of Dreams in the 3 days he passed through, Wenju still had accumulated experience. For example, the image of a beautiful dream is not necessarily what I have become, but it may be a symbolic thing. Actually, masked rider is an unreal thing. Wenju met a little boy 2 days ago. The child's thoughts are simple and calm, and he can see without entrusting him. His beautiful dream image is a large long-haired dog. It's not that the child wants to become a druid, it may be that he wants such a pet, or that he wants to become a veterinarian when he grows up. Just a clear sign. Wang Biao's image of glutinous rice is also a pure and beautiful symbol deep in his heart, such as reunion with his family. That directly shows the family, what a stream of consciousness. Wenju fell into deep thought, and the two uncles also kept silent, holding the wine glasses and not daring to enter. Let me say a key word, Chef Wang, think about what clues you have. Okay, little brother, just say it. Sweet dumpling. Sweet dumpling. After a few seconds of pause, Wang Bia replied, I don't like sweets. Really embarrassing. Thinking that the dumplings might symbolize reunion, Wenju talked about topics related to his family, but Wang Biao's expression didn't change much, he was still at ease. No, there is too little information. Wenju knew that it couldn't be done today, and the dream entrustment is not an easy task, so innocent children can quickly recognize their true heart with a little bit of advice. Pushing the cups for a change, the three of them chatted while eating, and quickly became acquainted. The more familiar the relationship is, the easier it is for Wenju to break through the other party's psychological defense line and touch the dust-covered dream. Fortunately, Boss Zhang and Wang Biao misunderstood the dream business as fortune-telling, and it is impossible to cure the disease by breaking the disaster. Not in a hurry. But Wenju realized that Boss Zhang's mental state was much better. Obviously he hadn't seen him for only 2 or 3 hours, and he changed from being aggrieved and restless to being cheerful and kind. It seems that seeing his beautiful dream image, the effect of frankly acknowledging himself and soothing his mind is stronger than expected. Hiccup on the way home, Wenju couldn't help hiccups. Comfortable, it's the first time I've eaten so much meat and carbs. Wang Biao's matter has not been resolved, and Wenju knew that it would be difficult. As an adult, there are too many things hidden in my heart, especially Wang Biao who left his hometown and came to Chang'an City. It is said that it has been many years. People are worried about getting hurt, so they protect their pure dreams in the corner of their hearts and put on a mask of reality. Over time, the mask cannot be taken off, the dream cannot float. Boss Zhang is a very clear example. He himself admitted that even in his 40s, he likes to watch some heroic works, and likes sunny justice. But he just couldn't really face himself honestly, so Wenju used up the feathers of the new moon and failed to complete the commission. Fortunately, their children touched the tenderness in their father's heart. Having had the first experience, Wenju knew that it was very difficult for people to see one's true intentions candidly. It was impossible for Wang Biao to be touched by something on the spot by chance. If the dream entrustment was really that simple, everyone would be able to communicate with themselves, and the world would be much more peaceful. Returning to Zhang Longkei's courtyard, when Wenju went upstairs, the landlady just finished throwing out the garbage and walked in front. The original owner's memories were scattered, so Wenju didn't even know what kind of person the landlady was, so he had to say hello. Good evening. The simple greeting frightened the landlady, her eyes seemed to see an alien, which was totally different from the Wenju in her impression. Hello. The atmosphere between them was strange. Wenju deliberately slowed down, the two sides opened a half-floor distance, and when he walked to the corner of the second floor, he heard the door closing upstairs entering the room. Squeak, the old wooden door opened again, and when Wenju stepped on the last step of the third floor, the landlady leaned out half of her body, carrying a plastic bag in her hand, and a disposable lunch box could be vaguely seen inside. I bought an extra rice ball today. I don't want to eat it when it's cold. It's a pity to throw it away. Take it if you want. Hey? Oh, thank you, the landlady. Speaking of, what is cold rice balls? Cold rice seemed to be the mainstream. I am back. Opening the door of the rental house, Wenju symbolically shouted, knowing that no one responded. However, you are not alone in this strange and different world. The game interface has a sweet dream paradise where you can communicate with the elves. Open the game interface, and it also becomes a night scene. The elves that come at night are different from those in the daytime. Owlya landed at the ticket booth with a young cuckoo. They know that they can enter Dreamland without buying a ticket, or they will land in front of the ticket counter, say hello to the director, and get permission to enter. A large row of round pink spheres approached in the distance, and 8 fat people lined up and jumped in front of the table. Fat Ding was only half a meter tall, so he couldn't see the players inside. Like other people's gophers, they are only 0.2 meters tall, and they can't jump. What should I do? Wenju tried to control the game character, and he could really reach out and touch Fat Ding, and the soft touch conveyed directly affected his thoughts. Wow, it's comfortable. In the future, we can't let wild elves play in Sweet Dreamland for free. I have to touch them anyway. Just as he was talking, the centipede also came. WOC, don't touch it anymore, don't touch it anymore, this one really doesn't touch it anymore. Lifting the lift pole, Fat Ding lined up to enter, and the centipede followed in order. After the only Ferris wheel was finished, they formed a circle. Fat Ding sang a ballad. According to the illustrated book, its singing was pleasant to the ears, and it was extremely easy for people to fall asleep. When Zhu observed the game interface, unknown notes echoed in his mind, his spirit was relieved, and drowsiness flooded into his heart. Opening his eyes again, the sunlight slanted into the room through the cracked window glass, and the cold wind blew a horn in the gap. Wenju rubbed his eyes to wake up, and couldn't help but retract his neck into the bed. It's too cold. The temperature data in the south near the sea will not be too low. The problem is that the humidity is high and the body temperature is low. This temperature is like the enemy's panel data that says the attack power is 100, but it has 70% armor penetration. On the game interface, the nocturnal elves left, and a juvenile stopped at the ticket booth. There are a lot of baby that come to Dreamland, and the more I see them, I can actually tell them apart by feeling. This juvenile comes frequently, sometimes with the steel crow in its final form. Give it to you. What? The puppies put a fruit in their mouth on the ticket counter, and Wenju quickly recognized the blue oblate sphere. Orange fruit, restore 10 HP. In the game, apart from the cooking method, the orange fruit is rarely used as a medicine, and the HP recovered is too small. Cheng fruit can be sold for 10 game gold coins in the store, but unfortunately there is no place to plant fruit trees near Sweet Dreamland, otherwise Wenju would be able to sell the fruit to pay off his debts. Thank you, you don't have to exchange the fruit for the ticket. Sweet Dreamland allows Pokemon to come in and play. The young shook her head. It's not about changing tickets, it's good friends. After speaking, the young flapped its wings shyly and flew away. Well, to be able to communicate with spirits, what kind of supernatural power do I call? The power of vibrant. From the table, he touched the rice ball given by the landlady for breakfast, and Wenju clicked on the menu interface. Player, Wenju. Backpack. There are only these two options. Click on the player information, and there are Wenju's basic values, including vitality. The current HP is full of 8 points, which is really comparable to a level 1 elf. 8 health points sounds very low, and looking at other values, it is even more appalling. Physical attack, physical defense, special attack, special defense. The 4 main values are all 2 speed ability value, 1 how weak is the original owner. Although Wenju doesn't know how normal people's physical fitness translates into games, he can take elves as an example. A wild, uncultivated green caterpillar, level 1, should have a HP of around 12, and other values of 5 to 6. It means that if the original owner encountered a wild green caterpillar, he couldn't escape and was completely crushed. Because he could see his body data intuitively, Wenju made up his mind to exercise. On the second day of crossing, I started to exercise properly. Unfortunately, the original owner's physical condition was really poor, and he was still breathing a little when he went down to the 3rd floor. Walking around Zhonglongke's large courtyard, Wenju started running around the streets, exercising and understanding the surrounding environment. After all, the original memory in my mind was only from the rental house to the canteen across the street, and the original owner stayed in the room for the rest of the time. Thinking about the conditions of the rental house, it was messy at first. It was very old without a computer or mobile phone, and it was incompatible with most software. I really don't know how the original owner could live there. Hey. After running 2 kilometers visually, Wenju began to feel hypoxia and muscle soreness and numbness. Not only is the cardiopulmonary function poor, but there are also problems with body fat and muscle strength, so that Wenju has to do a warm-up for more than 20 minutes before going out for a jog to ensure that the joints and muscles are in the state in advance. I walked back slowly, my body was still hot, but I couldn't take off my clothes to avoid catching a cold. There is a bookstore on the corner of the street ahead, and some of the books allow readers to make appointments in the store for free. As mentioned earlier, there is no computer in the rental house, the mobile phone package is extremely cheap, and the traffic is poor, which makes Wenju unable to learn knowledge through the internet. Internet cafes cost money, and I could hardly afford food, so I had to rely on bookstores for my studies. After adapting to the environment and the game interface 3 days ago, Wenju entered this bookstore for the first time. The clerk sat at the cashier and chatted, ignoring the entry and exit of customers. Most of the books that can be read for free do not have plastic packaging, and the genres tend to be literature and children's books. Wenju needs a variety of general knowledge such as general environment and geography, but encyclopedia books are often packaged in fine packaging and sealed with clinker film, which is outside the scope of free reading. Children's geography. After walking around a few times, only this children's book with cartoon patterns met Wenju's requirements. There's no other way, just pretend there are children at home, and I'm here to help them buy books. Thankfully, today is a working day, so few parents bring their children to read books, so it won't be too embarrassing. Turning over the pages of the children's geography book, the style of this book is distinctly biased towards preschool readings, with pinyin annotations and a large number of cartoon pictures, with less text. First of all, the book set up a cute cat, Dr. Kitten, who is a good friend of the children and leads everyone to the wonderful geographical world. It looked a little awkward at first, but soon, Wenju was attracted by the unknown knowledge. The general knowledge that the original owner was not interested in, and lacks memory, is exactly what Wenju needs to survive in another world. The continent of the clock dial. The land is roughly in the shape of a disc, with a vast open sea outside. The concept of country is called district in the current world, and a total of 12 districts are divided into 12 directions of the clock dial. For example, the range from 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock is Zone 1, and so on. The shape of each zone is similar, and it is approximately a divided pizza. Reading www.yuyuganshu.com. With the shape of the land and the rules of regional division, the name Zongpan continent came into being. Reading this, Wenju faintly felt a little strange. If all regions in the world were not united to plan their territories in a unified way, it would be almost impossible to have 12 countries of almost equal area and similar shape. But Wenju's hands are children's geography and children's books, how can he talk about the depths of social history? In order to make it easy for children to understand, the book describes the appearance and division of the clock plate continent, and takes the clock as an example, using a lot of illustrations, occupying 20 or 30 pages. The thin children's geography is only about 40 pages in total. The following 10 pages talk about the general climate, which area has some kind of cute little animals, and which area has some kind of special products, so as to stimulate children's interest in geography. Both physical geography and human geography have been touched on superficially. As far as the target audience of children's geography itself is concerned, the content planning is very good. For Wenju, it's really not enough. The stomach protested slightly, the rice in the morning were really not very hungry. In the quiet small bookstore, the stomach growls a little annoying. Fortunately, the cashier at the front desk was chatting happily and noticed the abnormal noise. Although I really want to look for other general books, unfortunately, my current physical condition can't stand it, and I feel a little dizzy from low blood sugar. Still have to complain about this weak body. Wenju was a child from the countryside before he crossed over. He was tanned under the sun. He hadn't caught a cold in 2 or 3 years. Leaving the bookstore, walking across the street, Wenju arrived at the commercial plaza that was discovered a few days ago. Speaking of the word prove is a bit strange, it's like opening a new map in the game, opening up a copy of the wasteland. The morning running experience through the present is really like opening an unknown map. The minimum amount of the mobile phone package cannot be connected to the internet to avoid the explosion of traffic costs, so it is impossible to view the situation of Changle City from the satellite map, and can only observe the unknown world in person. It's like an open-ended city game. Wenju came to the commercial plaza for the deli area of a department store, a free trial. However, before you try it, you have to buy some things in the department store, mainly cheap vegetables and meat, enough for a day or two. It seemed that Wenju was really here to buy something, rather than coming to buy piao to try it. Carrying a few vegetables and half-price chicken breasts, the smell of the cooked food area made Wenju hungry. Be reserved. The little girl beside her shouted, "Jujube cake! Sour jujube and red jujube cake, try it first and then buy it, sir, let's try it out." Wenju pretended to pass by as if nothing had happened, and the little girl's shout suddenly changed. "You're here again?" "Ah, Being recognized, Wenju had to admit it. 2 days ago, after running in the morning, I came to the department store to try food and supplement energy. I didn't expect them to remember it so firmly. Recognizing, the little girl still enthusiastically used a toothpick to fork a large piece of jujube cake for Wenju. The auntie who sells fragrant sauce pancakes across the street also happily walked over with the food to try. "Eat, young man, who hasn't had a hard time yet?" Wenju felt warm in her heart. She didn't know how to express it, she just nodded and said thank you. "Young man, come and try our meatballs, there are fish and beef balls." The bald-headed brother shouted and waved to Wenju. After walking a few steps, Wenju suddenly stopped. "Fish ball?" Fish are also white spheres and are eaten with a spoon in a bowl. Then, Wang Biao's dream image is not necessarily a dumpling, but other balls. "Young man, come here, don't be embarrassed." The bald-headed brother who sold the continued to wave to Wenju, "If you don't want money, I'll give you a try." The big brother's stall sells all kinds of meatballs, fish balls, beef balls, fresh shrimp balls, one piece, etc. He said that he would try one of each kind for Wenju. With so many varieties, he would be 50 to 60% full after one round. Wenju was both shy and grateful, trying the food with kind eyes. "Boss, I'll buy some balls." "Young man, it doesn't matter if it's difficult, you don't need to hold on." No, it's really delicious. I'll buy some and cook it myself." Wenju opened his wallet and bought 20 each of the main fish and beef in the store. This is an attempt to complete the delegation. Wang Biao's dream image shows the round in a white porcelain bowl with soup, very smooth, and Wenju subconsciously decided that it was a dumpling. Since it wasn't me who became the dumplings, in all likelihood it is a kind of sign, which may mark the reunion with the family. Later, I asked Boss Zhang to find out that Wang Biao was not married at the age of 40, and his parents were in his hometown. He insisted that it was too reluctant to let him go home for reunion. Wenju planned to attack him. The round white may not be glutinous rice balls. Although the fish are not so smooth, the image of miming is translucent and a little fuzzy, and the picture quality is poor. It may be other balls. To be on the safe side, Wenju simply bought an extra type of beef balls, saying that he would bring food to Boss Zhang's house for a get-together, and let Wang Biao come as well. Then, intentionally or unintentionally, to talk about family and reunion topics, maybe there will be progress. Handed the money to the owner of the meatball stall, and the other party smiled happily. It's rare for young people to pay in cash these days. Ahaha, I just want to break some change. Wenju explained embarrassingly. In fact, he also wanted to pay by mobile phone. The problem was that the mobile phone's minimum data package couldn't support it. Not only the traffic problem, the system of the old mobile phone may not even be compatible with the app of the payment platform. Leaving the heating area of the department store, the cold wind roared back and forth. After exercising, Wenju could not help but pull up his collar and trot back to the rental house. I took a shower in the dilapidated small shower room. The rental house has no balcony, so I can only hang my clothes on the iron rack that extends outside the window. When I opened the wardrobe, the cabinet left by the original owner had a faint musty smell. This was the result of Wenju's thorough cleaning and then leaving the wardrobe outside to air dry for a day. If you have a little money, you must change the wardrobe, change the carpet, and put up wallpaper. Just as he was talking about money, there was a light knocking sound from the door. Wenju opened the door, and outside was the landlady dressed at home. The elegance of her once wealthy life was almost wiped out, and she could only vaguely feel that she was different from ordinary aunts. "Landlady, what's the matter? Pay the rent today." The response was concise, and Wenju realized that although he only lived for less than 4 days, the beginning of each month was the day to pay the rent. "How much is this month?" "Rent plus utilities 781b. As far as Wenju's life experience is concerned, the rented house with independent bathroom plus 700 or 800 water and electricity is considered cheap. The trouble is that he is poor. "I'll go downstairs to get some money." After buying the food and daily necessities for the past 2 days, and then paying today's rent, the original balance of 1000b will be more than 100. Quickly took out his mobile phone and dialed Boss Zhang's number to solve the dream entrustment. "Wenju. Boss Zhang, my friend gave me some balls, dozens of them. Can we call Chef Wang at night and let's talk?" "Oh, why are you so embarrassed that you brought something to eat?" Wang Biao and Boss Zhang have a very good relationship. After get off work, they often drink a little wine and chat at their residence. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com does not need an extra appointment, just shout it later. Things were arranged properly at night, and Wenju began to stretch the ligament in the room. The physical fitness is really poor. Even if there is a supermarket recruiting porters or salespersons in a shopping mall, Wenju's physical fitness may not be enough. Open the game interface, the elves are still playing the only Ferris wheel, simple and happy, not boring at all. What si the purple sphere floated over, with a stream of grey-purple smoke. Good noon with gas bombs. Wenju has seen this gas flick several times, and he is also a frequent visitor to Sweet Dreamland. "Come in, but be careful, you can't release harmful gas and affect other Pokémon." "Okay." Si lifting the lift rod to let the gas bomb enter, Wenju was surprised to find a scooter approaching outside the Dreamland. 2 large oxen pull a transportation tool similar to a trolley or a carriage. That's Kentaro. A bull Pokémon type that whips itself with 3 ox tails and runs fast. Sitting on the roof of the car was a man dressed in mountaineering style, with an orange mountaineering bag larger than half a man behind him. This is the first time Wenju has seen a character in the game, a human-shaped NPC. Trainer type, Backpacker. A text dialog box pops up. "Backpacker Bang Z, there is actually an amusement park here. Would you like to come in and take a look?" Wenju tried to communicate with the trainer, and the other party's response was reflected in the text dialog box. "Tickets cost 20 gold coins, right?" "Yes." The ticket price is posted outside the Dreamland, and if you want to raise the price, you can't raise it. The backpacker paid for his ticket, as well as 2 Kent arrows and a zebra. After 2 laps on the Ferris wheel, he brought his elf down and played with other wild Pokémon. The first rule at the top of Sweet Dreamland's rules is that wild elves must not be charged, and then the second rule, it is forbidden to capture elves in the whole island of Paradise and the surrounding waters. Therefore, the wild elves and trainers play very pure, and there is no desire or fear on both sides. Wenju gradually began to understand the reason. There was only a simple Ferris wheel in Dreamland, but so many elves came to play repeatedly. In Dreamland, what really matters is not the rides, but the pure environment and pure Pokémon. When night fell again, Wenju put on dry clothes after exercising in the room for a long time. Street lights were lit on both sides of the streets of Changle City, and people who had finished their day's work began to return. Wenju went to Boss Zhang's supermarket with two kinds of as agreed, thinking about what to say. First of all, let's assume that the object in Wang Baiao's dream image is a dumpling, which symbolizes reunion and guides his family. But it can't be said too directly. Wang Baiao has been wandering abroad for 5 or 6 years, and he has a sturdy personality of 5 or 3 rough people. Does not fit the character. And Wang Baiao must face the pure dream calmly, in order to see the image of the beautiful dream. Plan B is that that thing is not a glutinous rice ball, it is just another symbol. It has to be replaced by the same amount of fish and beef that I brought today. After sorting out today's speeches, and then preparing for the worst plan of returning without success, Wenju walked into Boss Zhang's house and greeted him inside. I'm coming. Ha ha ha, Wenju, come in. Boss Zhang greeted him warmly. In Wenju's view, seeing the image of sweet dreams seems to be not as simple as he imagined. Not a fleeting glimpse of my dream, not just that. Rather, it really gives people some great comfort or recognition in their hearts, otherwise Boss Zhang would not have treated Wenju so well just because of one contact. Where's Chef Wang? He's still working in the kitchen. Then I'll take the to the kitchen and let Chef Wang cook them together. Okay, just a little less soup. Wenju entered the kitchen with fish and beef balls. Wang Baiao turned around when he heard the movement. Little brother, what delicious food did your friend send? I paid for some balls, but they were delicious. Wang Baiao's dream entrustment is still there, and there is still a translucent bowl of dumplings beside him. Wenju was not in a hurry to mention the image of miming. It is best to start work when everyone is comfortable eating, feeling more relaxed, and having a relaxed psychological defense. In fact, there are similar scenes in literature and reality. Elite white-collar workers who are all normal on weekdays cry loudly after drinking. It's not that I'm crazy about drinking, it's that I'm really homesick and so on, so I usually hold back forcibly. Wenju wanted exactly that kind of opportunity, although he still didn't understand what happened to the sweet dream image similar to Tang Yuan. Handing out 2 bags, Chef Wang was obviously hesitant when he reached out to meet him, and froze for 3 to 5 seconds. Noticing the temporary strangeness, Wenju asked, "What's wrong?" "It's okay. It's okay, there are 2 kinds of balls, we'll be fine with the next one." There is no problem with the words. It is impossible to cook beef and fish together, but Wenju still caught Wang Baiao's abnormal reaction. Wang Baiao finally chose to cook fish balls. Fish are more difficult than glutinous rice balls. After all, glutinous rice symbolize reunion. What do fish symbolize? Not right. The focus is not on the fish balls. Wenju, who was standing at the back, could see clearly. After Wang Baiao got the 2 bags, he immediately put the beef far away. His dodging action was like an electric shock. Because there is a certain rejection of beef balls, Wang Baiao chose fish balls. Yesterday's appetizers included beef and sauce. Wenju first ruled out the possibility that Wang Baiao would not eat beef. Then, the hypothesis that he deliberately avoided beef was very likely to be true. Look at the translucent image of Sweet Dream, the white in the white porcelain bowl. Wenju has never seen other colors in the image of Sweet Dreams. For example, Boss Zhang's masked Superman is also pure white. In fact, it is unreasonable. Hero characters often have to add some highly saturated colors. It can only be explained that the image of the dream can only restore the shape, and the color is uniformly white. Even if the image of the dream behind Wang Biao is beef balls, it will change from tan to white due to display problems. I see. As the head of the supermarket's cooked food section, Wang Biao moved quickly, chopped the chopped green onion in 3 or 2 strokes, and simmered the fish in the pot. Opening the drawer on the other side, the smell of meat buns wafted out, a familiar smell to Wenju, who just ate it yesterday. Take the fish out of the pot and put them in a bowl. Little brother Wenjiu, these fish are good. You are starving too. Let's go out to eat together. I'll wash my hands. With the action of washing his hands, Wenju watched Wang Biao leave the kitchen with the dishes first, and sneaked out 3 beef into the pot. There are a lot of dishes, and the portions are full. Most of us won't be able to eat beef later. This thing is to be used for side-by-side attacks, to see why the sturdy chef would dodge the beef balls. Little brother Wenjiu, the buns are going to be cold. I'm coming. The 3 sat around the round table, the winter wind whistled outside, and the house was full of joy. The little boy stuck out half of his face from the wall and looked outside carefully. Zhang Anning, don't be rude, come out and say hello to your brother. That's Boss Zhang's son. Wenju met him when he completed the masked Superman commission. Good evening. Zhang Anning approached with a naughty smile. Hello brother Wenjiu. While saying hello, Wenju has been keeping an eye on Wang Biao. For the time being, he is still thinking about the reunion and his family. He expects that he will be touched when he sees the intimate communication between Boss Zhang and his son. Wang Biao took a sip from the wine glass and felt tightness in his chest again. He unbuttoned the 3 rows of buttons on his shirt in a row. Wenju fell into contemplation. Wang Biao was not married, so he had no children. What was on his mind about the Fatherson family was the relationship between him and his father. It doesn't go well with glutinous rice and beef balls. Besides, can you hide your feelings for your father? When inquiring privately with Boss Zhang, Wenju learned that Wang Biao's parents were still alive, so he ruled out the possibility that his father used to be good at a certain dish, but he can't eat it now. Hey? Is the stove on? After working in the kitchen for so many years, Wang Biao is extremely sensitive to relevant aspects, and can vaguely hear the murmur of boiling water. After counting the time, the beef were almost done, Wenju stood up. I accidentally touched a few when I was washing my hands just now, and I washed them and put them in the pot. Oh! Boss Zhang held the child on his lap and gave him some meat buns to eat. There was no special reaction. In front of the father and son frolic, Wang Biao's cheeks twitched obviously, and he put fish into his mouth, trying to hide something, but he was burned to the point of grinning. Ha ha ha! Ning! Don't make fun of Uncle Wang. In the peaceful atmosphere, Wenju brought out the beef balls. Chef Wang, come and try my craft. Boss Zhang and his son were unaware of the secret surging affection, and still talked about the school, teachers, homework, and other topics. Only Wang Biao looked gloomy. Don't try. Wang Biao's resolute tone frightened Zhang Anning and also surprised Boss Zhang. Wenju knew in his heart that this was the right idea. Wang Biao? What's wrong with you? Knowing that his attitude was wrong, he was so excited that Wang Biao apologized repeatedly. Hey, I'll pay for the beef that my little brother cooked. Sprouts diced, seaweed balls, the stick thumping the chopping board resounds, dolls stand by the stove, steaming red cheeks. In the room, Boss Zhang looked puzzled. Across the table, Wang Biao held a bowl of ordinary beef in silence, looking at the daunting appearance. He was more entangled than drinking herbal soup. Feeling the wrong atmosphere, Zhang Anning snuggled into his father's arms obediently, his transparent eyes never blinking. Knowing that he guessed correctly, Wenju paid close attention to the image of the dream. The 3 minutes of silence seemed extremely long. Wang Biao scooped up the beef with a spoon and shoved them into his mouth. The meatballs were actually like a soldier who was willing to die. Boss Zhang was so frightened that he thought he was allergic to beef. However, in the past few years, when drinking at home, the appetizers have often eaten soy sauce beef. Bah! The porcelain bowl was placed on the table, Zhang Anning shrank in fright, and Wang Biao was crying. Little brother Wenjiu, what happened to Wang Biao? Chef Wang's heart is about to be solved. In Wenju's line of sight, the white porcelain bowl made of the image of a beautiful dream gently floated low. Wang Biao seemed to feel it, and raised his tearful face. In the dense steam, beef are looming in the thick porcelain bowl of the hometown. Dings of sprouts, of seaweed, sticks pounding on the chopping board. Wang Biao babbled in a somewhat non-standard language like a dream, but Wenju could hear it vaguely. Boss Zhang, which district's language is that? It's from our 6th district. It's mixed with their hometown accent, so the taste is different. The image of Sweet Dream changed slightly, the white porcelain spoon scooped up the balls, and they disappeared one by one, like an elder gently holding a bowl and feeding the children beef balls. On the game interface, a text prompt box pops up, Dream Points plus 11. Wenju secretly rejoiced, it's done. Hearing Wang Biao recovering from his confused state, he muttered, it's so unpalatable. Boss Zhang didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Wang Biao, don't go too far. People in their 30s and 40s, even if the little brother's beef don't do well, you don't need to cry so badly. Hey, no, the beef are loose and poorly seasoned. Wang Biao was still babbling on unconsciously. If it weren't for the fact that he had obtained the sweet dream points, and he was crying really sadly, Wenju would also want to complain. Wang Biao, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Boss Zhang saw that his old man was in a bad situation, so he put down the child and moved closer. The heat from the beef gradually faded, and Wang Biao's mood calmed down. Little brother is amazing, as expected of a great physicist, see through my thoughts at once. It's nothing, mainly with a warm heart. Without blushing or panting, Wenju responded righteously. In fact, the inspiration came from the free food in the department store. Speaking of which, the names like the stick must find a way to straighten them back. It's me who can't get through with myself. Wang Biao tells his story. From Changle City to the south, there is only one rural bus line a day that goes to Tianta village, which is Wang Biao's hometown. My father is a well-known chef. Not only his hometown, but also his neighbors will come to him when they have big weddings. In the rebellious period, Wang Biao despised the dry cook in his heart. This kind of cooking is extremely physical and energy-intensive. There was no electric mixer in those days, and the beef had to be beaten into a puree by hand, and then mixed with a proper amount of starch to squeeze out the balls. The old father's physical fitness was gradually unable to hold up, and he wanted to pass on his craftsmanship. Wang Biao, however, was resolutely unwilling. He insisted that the desk work did not appear, and left his hometown. Later, I met Boss Zhang. After working in the supermarket, he didn't go home for 5 or 6 years, and he still worked as a cook. Hey? You? Wenju originally thought that Wang Biao's departure from his hometown was a north-south journey like a north drift, and it was an hour or two's drive from the village outside Changle City. Why don't you go back? I have no face to go back. She once disliked her father's cooking career, but it was also the chef profession that later supported Wang Biao in Changle City. He originally wanted to do a big job and then go back to show off to his father, but before he knew Boss Zhang, he was in a bad way until he accepted his fate. When I was a child, my father used to have beef and beef smoothies with a fragrant and chewy texture. Bah! This time, Wenju made a noise and slapped the table with his palm. Go back quickly, don't regret it if you really can't eat it. The silence lasted for a few seconds. Wang Biao stood up, his thick arms wiped away the tears on his face. My father taught me to be a man, but I kept running away for ridiculous self-esteem." The words stopped. Wang Biao looked at Boss Zhang with bright eyes. "Old Zhang, I may have to take a leave of absence for a while." "Okay. It's okay, I'll keep the chef's seat for you." Boss Zhang smiled and had tears in his eyes, "But remember to add 2 dishes to the cooked food area when you come back next time. Beef balls, beef smoothie. A word is for sure." The palms of the 2 big men clapped together fiercely, and standing next to him was Zhang Anning, who didn't know why. The little boy couldn't understand why his father and Uncle Wang were crying and laughing. One day, he would know his father's greatness. Or maybe he already knew. The deeply hidden emotions were out of control, and Wang Biao immediately got up to pack his luggage and catch the city bus to the village bus early in the morning. It is obvious that the shallow traces of time on his face are stretched. "Little brother Wenjiu, we agreed to complete the remuneration entrusted to 300B. You did a perfect job." Wang Biao was about to transfer money, but was stopped by Boss Zhang. "It was agreed that I would pay." No, I didn't expect Wenju to have such a high level of hope at such a young age. Can't you understand it as psychotherapy?" Looking at the 2 big men pushing around, Wenju decided to start eating. "I was busy just now." Yu was reading www.yuyuganshu.com. "Ate half a mouthful of fish balls. We bought this thing with money, so I'll pay for it anyway." When Wang Biao left, there was an extra 300B in cash on the table, and the 2 brothers each contributed half. It's not that he is short of money, it's just that Boss Zhang is happy, and he also came to make a fortune. "Wenju, I really didn't see you wrong. Wenju is not what Boss Zhang thinks. In fact, he only knows some anecdotal knowledge about psychology, but there is nothing to explain. It can help people unravel the knot and be honest with themselves. The most important thing. Being entrusted by others is a matter of loyalty. Good job, I respect you." Boss Zhang picked up the wine glass. They knew that Wenju didn't drink, so they prepared juice. "Wenju, where is your dream office?" The atmosphere was a little awkward. "Boss Zhang, I don't rent any office space, so I'm the bear commander in the office." "Ah, it's okay, with your ability, you can develop it very quickly." Boss Zhang was full of emotion. More than 1 or 2 friends who had been working in the supermarket for many years could see that Wang Biao had something on his mind, but unfortunately there was nothing they could do about him. Depressed mind leads to chest tightness and insomnia, which affects Wang Biao's health. The partners were anxious and unable to solve it. Unexpectedly, Boss Zhang met Wenju by chance. Speaking of this, Boss Zhang is really happy. The objects in the cup are one after another, and the repeated words are repeated over and over again. "Boss Zhang, you are drunk." Hiccup, "Yes, I can't drink anymore. I'm going to send my child to school tomorrow." Wenju remembered that Boss Zhang said the day before yesterday that Zhang Anning started going to school and dismissed himself in the 2nd grade. Father and son looked at each other, raised a smile. The tacit understanding is self-evident. "Don't fight. Stop fighting. Dad. It's going to kill you if you fight again." The sun shone down on the earth, and the villagers of Tianta village, who were working in the wheat field, saw 2 people running wildly on the field ridge. "Who is old man Wang chasing after him with a stick? A little familiar, who? Bio Z. Wang Biao? Oh, he didn't go home for so many years, he deserves to be driven around the village by his father." Changle City also ushered in a new day. Wenju completed his daily morning exercise and returned to the rental house to wash his sweaty clothes. Open the game interface and view the character panel. The health value is still a pitiful 8 points. The double defense and double attack were originally 2, but now the physical defense has increased by 1. Does it mean that my body is a little tougher? For the time being, I can't figure out how to summon an elves to fight, but the data-based body values give Wenju instant satisfaction after exercising. Yesterday's backpacker slept on the spot in sweet dreamland for one night, chatting with wild elves. Ordinary trainers cannot communicate with elves, but sometimes pure emotional communication requires no words. The backpacker is about to set off again, and the text dialog box pops up. "Thank you so much, what a wonderful paradise. I have some goods here that can be sold to you at half price." "Oh? They also sell bulk cargo." The text box was confirmed, and a transaction list was opened. There were 5 or 6 items in it, including firestones, pokeballs, and wound medicine. In the normal version, the cheapest pokeball is 200 gold coins, and the backpacker discount is only 100. Unfortunately, Wenju has no money. To be precise, it should be 700 or 800 game gold coins owed for utilities. "Thank you very much, but unfortunately I can't afford it." Wenju's mentality is calm, the evolution stone is not used, and the capture of wild elves is prohibited in Dreamland and the entire island outside. The player's data corresponds to Wenju's physical condition. In theory, Wenju is injured and can recover his health through the drugs and fruit in the game. "Backpacker, it's a pity that there is nothing you need. I had a very happy day in sweet Dreamland, I'll give this to you." Obtained, pumice. "Pumice." Kentaro let out a cow cry, pulled the scooter away, and the backpacker said goodbye. "Garden director, goodbye. Come back next time." The figure of the backpacker disappeared from the screen, and he left his contact information, which can be contacted through the phone at the ticket desk. Open the backpack. Extra game props, pumice stone. It belongs to elf equipment, and the weight of the elf is halved when carried. Wenju didn't have any elves, so he guessed whether this thing could be used by players. Click on the pumice stone, carry the option. The echelon of elves is empty, but there is really a Q version of the character icon to represent the player. Selecting the player, it is obvious that the body suddenly becomes lighter. Under the condition that the muscle strength remains unchanged, the body weight will be halved, and the performance of all aspects of physical fitness will be greatly enhanced. Trying to take off, Wenju ran back and forth in the room. Compared with the previous one, he exaggeratedly felt like a Superman. Remove the pumice. This thing can't be used too often, it will form dependence. When exercising, others add extra weight, but I am better. I halved my weight, and the effect of exercise decreased. After thinking roughly, Wenju determined the usage scenario of pumice stone. For example, if I had to go to work, I couldn't stand it for 2 hours. I used pumice stones to lighten the burden, at least to avoid thinking that my physical fitness was too weak and my boss would dislike it. Ding! There was a short message ringtone from the phone. Wenju checked the content, and his face changed suddenly. "I owe 34B for the phone bill." Gritting his teeth, he paid 50B, feeling slightly distressed. When I wanted to pay the bill, I found that the mobile phone could not be connected to the internet, so I had to go to the mobile phone shop downstairs to pay in cash, and took out the real money, which made me even more distressed. Yesterday, I completed Wang Biao's dream entrustment, which was 300B in the account. However, the rent and water and electricity were deducted from 700 to 800 yuan. The money for the meatballs was also paid by Wenju himself. Now I can barely survive this month, and I won't be able to pay the rent next month. It's better to be able to work part-time while getting in touch with the dream mission, and spread the name of the firm. Boss Zhang recognizes Wenju very much, but it's not enough to rely on him alone. How can there be so many friends around him? Ding! Just as he was talking, there was news from the phone in his pocket. "Hey, if someone slaps it, the system will send you a peerless divine art. If I slapped it, it's a text message in arrears." Said CAO, a text message from Boss Zhang, asking if he was free. "Call back. Little brother Wenjiu, I'm still worried that you are sleeping. I didn't sleep so late." Through the window of the stationery store on the street, you can see that the clock shows 8:13, and the morning run is nearly an hour. Is there something wrong with Boss Zhang? If the little brother doesn't dislike it, he can come to our supermarket to work for a few days. Wang Baiao returned to Tianta village, and called Boss Zhang again, saying that he had encountered a bandit and was seriously injured and needed more training. Is Tianta village so chaotic? Although Wenju doesn't know much about the current world, but looking at the appearance of a modern and civilized city in the urban area, it doesn't quite resemble the background of the times when bandits existed. I don't know either, it's just that the supermarket lacks staff. As soon as Wang Baiao left, the original seconding command was busy with his business. Because of his lack of ability, he added an assistant. At present, the small supermarket dormitory area is less responsible for the basic work. There is a pasta counter that sells egg pancakes, fragrant sauce pancakes, steamed buns, etc. Are you interested, little brother? 100 B a day, all you can eat. 100 B a day is not bad even if it is to pick up a job. Besides, he is in charge of breakfast and dinner. He doesn't work in the cooked food area at noon, leaving enough free time for Wenju. Okay. When can you go? Come here now. Boss Zhang is not sure how long Wang Baiao will be injured, so he will find someone to support him temporarily. Yu reading www.yuyuganshu.com. He met with Boss Zhang for 3 consecutive days and got to know each other very well. He led Wenju into the cooked food area next to the entrance of the supermarket. To be honest, it was the first time that Wenju entered this small supermarket. Before that, it was at Boss Zhang's residence next to the warehouse at the back. The original owner before crossing the street only bought packaged food at the convenience store across the street, and was completely unfamiliar with the neighborhood. Wenju, this is the cooked food area. You are in charge of the pasta, and the price is written on the board. Whatever the guest wants, you can put it in the bag. With the existence of mobile payment, the pressure of cashier is almost zero. In addition to selling cooked food, Wenju's main job is to go to the kitchen to replenish. At this time, it was nearly 8:30. During the breakfast rush, the other 2 aunties were busy. When they saw a new young man, they sent Wenju to the kitchen to get the steamer. There were big meat buns in it. Be careful, the cage is very big and heavy. Okay. Entering the kitchen, Wenju faced the large stove, only to realize that what the aunties outside said was no exaggeration. The steamer was too big to be hugged by one person, plus the contents inside, the weight can be imagined. Click on the game interface, pumice comes in handy. The cage that I held in my arms was not as heavy as I imagined, but it was much lighter. What happened? In the case of inconvenient muscle strength, the body weight is reduced by half, so that the hands and feet will not be as light as they are at present. Could it be? Wenju looked at the warm steamer in his arms and lifted the pumice stone. WOC, it's so heavy. After several attempts, Wenju realized the judging rules of pumice stone, has its own weight, including the objects it carries. If you can't lift the steamer, it doesn't count as carrying, and the weight of this thing won't be halved. Able to lift it independently, even a large truck will be judged as carrying.